Okay, so what is going on? I'm back with the moon opposite Mars synastry. Wow. Now, of course, this is different from the conjunct, as you guys know. But I will say this. Moon opposite Mars does have a rather intense attraction. Okay? These two individuals do have an intense attraction towards each other. But what ends up happening, especially if there's other good synastry aspects going on, but what ends up happening is we end up having Mars's desires, impulses, action, reaction, sexuality, opposing the moon's feelings, sensitivities, mind, subconscious mind. This is like undisplayed behaviors. Okay? And this is what ends up happening. It feels, or it comes off as if one or the other is purposely going after each other. It's like one is purposely going after the other. All right? And one's intentions or motivations or wants, needs. And I'm going to tell you guys, the biggest reason that this happens is miscommunication, not communicating. Do y'all see that I'm doing my hands like this? Me doing my hands like this is showing y'all I'm making emphasis. My mouth is moving in both my hands. Communication is the biggest reason for the downfall of this relationship or the synastry between the two. But I get it. And it's very hard because you have to understand, we're very affected by our own intentions, our own willpower, our own feelings and sensitivities, and the nature of ourselves. These planets and these attributes, this is just a very core nature of ourselves. And we're just acting normally. When we're just acting normally, these two oppose each other in these areas, but it's for reasons that needs to be communicated, because like I said, the attraction is there, the opposite, the pull, where Mars, the fact that it's Mars and it's the moon. Okay. Mars, the attraction there is like Mars, like that masculine energy is desiring and longing for and pull to an attraction to the femininity, the feminine part of the moon. And just the natural way that the moon is operating. Yes, there's an attraction there. But the problem is, now this is another reason why they actually stay together and it becomes intense. Because Mars, especially like being the masculine, finds a need to go after the moon. Now, what affects it is what the planet the Mars person is placed in. The Mars is placed in. That's what affects it the most. Okay, but it's like, this is something that's intriguing. The Mars person can definitely, want to have this hidden agenda or this, desire to go after the moon for a very long time. It doesn't have to be like this one shot thing. The problem is that the moon is seeing the Mars person as being like aggressive, is being, Mars is not really reading the room when it comes to the moon person. It's, and the moon person knows, it senses, it sees Mars' desire for it. But it's, okay, so for an example, you want to, I'm trying to use a good example that other people can just relate to, but I'm not sure if I can do it with this because it's going to sound creepy or it's weird or whatever. But if you want You ever heard that saying, the best way to catch a bee is with honey? You wouldn't put poison on a stick and set it out and expect for bees to come to it. You get what I'm saying? You would put honey, or you would put something, a flower or something. I'm just saying. So this is the relationship between Mars and the moon. The moon person senses the Mars and actually, has this, a little bit of affinity for the Mars, because they see Mars doing their thing. They feel like it's a little bit different. They feel like, oh my God, like Mars is really, masculine, or Mars is really a go-getter. Mars lives their life. Like Mars, there's no apologies. But it's a hit and miss. I heard, but this, guys, I gotta go, but it's a hit and miss, and this is the discrepancy, because it's like the moon senses, but at the same time, it feels like Mars is acting up. The moon starts to look at Mars like, okay, you're acting up, like you're not really doing, now you're turning me off, or like that does not make me feel comfortable. What you're doing does not make me feel comfortable. It's like Mars starts to come up with starts performing, because this is what turns Mars off. Because Mars starts to look up and be like, dang, I'm not myself. Like, why am I doing all these things to appease to this person? This person is not really opening up to me. And they're acting like they don't see that I'm trying to go after them. I'm trying to get them, that I'm interested. And I know that they do, because I showed them. I told them. But wait a minute. No, I didn't tell them. But I did show them. No, I did tell them. But in the moon, you have to be careful of this. Because what ends up happening, the moon is like, no, you're not. You're not making me feel comfortable. You're not telling me in the way that I want you to tell me. You're not showing me in the way that I want you to show me. Take a Mars and Scorpio, moon and Taurus. A Mars and Scorpio person would be anything but. Now, they could be direct, but at the same time, it's the way that they're being direct. And then they start being tricky. Like, trying to get an emotional response. The moon in Taurus is in Taurus. It may not give an emotional response. And if it does initially, it's not going to keep giving an emotional response. And it does not really take well to being tested, which is what the Mars and Scorpio individual will be doing. And then the Mars and Scorpio individual might be, directly sexual, and the moon in Taurus might be like, okay, I get it. This is, by the way, this is something that draws them together, because it can be very physical and passionate with these two. But at some point, moon and Taurus is like, no, I want to be treated like a lady. And even if you were a guy, you could be like, nah, like, there's other parts. Like, now, granted, if you're a guy and you're the moon, you might find it hot and you might be turned on, like, by the Mars person. But what happens is, emotionally, do they capture you emotionally? There's a lot of, bada bing, bada boom going on between the two. But sometimes even that stops or slows down, or that doesn't even if you want each other, and it probably will be, really nice. It could be really good, and vice versa. It depends on where your other placements are. With the dance that happens, it's just like sometimes. And even in bed, though, the moon person can feel like the Mars person is just like so aggressive and but you don't understand. It could have been like the Mars person's desires have been, especially like if this has been a long drawn out situation, they could be like, man, I want moon so bad. And then when they get them, it's like devouring them, because it's like they're them showing like, dang, this is my lust for you, or this is how I feel for you. And it could be too much for the moon, because the moon starts to feel like, okay, maybe you treat me like a piece of meat, or like I'm just part of your desires, and that's not all that I am. Because now the moon is just extra ultra sensitive. And the Mars person is like, what? You should be flattered. Like I'm saying, do you not understand how many people want me? I'm saying to you that I want you, and I can't hold back. Shouldn't that be like a badge of honor? I don't understand what's going on here. But so this is these two biggest win is communicating. Like, listen, Okay, let's stop. Because the moon is feeling touchy feely. Like, oh yeah, so you gonna get it straight. When I ignore you, you gonna get it straight. Okay, and the Mars person is feeling like their desires and their attempts is going unnoticed or like judged or something. It's falling on deaf ear. So I think that the best thing for these two is to be like, hey, let's talk about this for a second. Like, what is it that you want? Like, what is it that you're looking for from me? Or like, or this is what I'm looking for, or this is what I think that it is. Or this is what I want. This is how I'm feeling. And when you do A, B, or C, it does not. I'm telling you, like when Mars tries their little tricks, like when they're like, oh, I'm about to go make you jealous and I'm about to get your attention another way. The moon person should be like, hey, listen, that don't get my attention. It gets my attention, all right, and it hurts my feelings. You don't even have to go that deep. But that's just me. If you want to just go out and straight out and say that, fine. But at the same time, you're giving Mars an advantage of them. Here you go, the secret. Hey, y'all want to know the secrets? I'm giving you some jewels. You don't want to get. It's easy for the moon person to give a lot, to say a lot to the Mars person, and vice versa. With each other, you don't necessarily want to communicate like, oh yeah, you hurt my feelings every time you do A, B, or C, because that's the very same thing they're going to use against you when they want to hurt you on purpose. So just be like, you know what? Yeah. So you want me to go out with you? You trying to get me in the sack? Whatever you're trying to do. Like, I don't find it interesting, or it doesn't turn me on when you being interested in other people in my face. Not a smart move. Like when I'm making attempts to talk to you, Mars person might say this, hey, or go out with you or whatever I'm doing. It helps if you like tell me how you're feeling, because I don't really know. And telling you, the moon person telling Mars how you feel could just be that, well, you know what, you're confusing me with the moves that you're making. And when I'm feeling confused, I don't do anything. Because my first interest is the first thing for me is I need to put up my defenses and I need to look out. If you want to go out with me, tell me. Okay? Don't be doing all this other stuff. Okay, so this has been moon opposite. Y'all, this is moon opposite Mars. Synastry, I'm Butterfly to Light. And I will be back. Peace.